Hi there. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about the Bernina B475 Quilters Edition. There's 4 series in the range of these machines, and one is the B475 and one is the B435. They look identical. The B475 has nearly, I think, 190 extra stitches, and it has the scissor which allows me to cut the thread. So there's a couple of little things that are different, but I'm going to be showing you on this one today because they work identically. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to wind a bobbin and thread your machine. So if you've got a thread that is cross wound like this one, it will lie down. If you had, and throw it away. If you had a thread that was wound around evenly, you can use your extra thread stand and put your felt on here. Okay, so we're going to use this one today. This can pop back down and we're going to pop our thread onto here. Now you get 3 of these little caps, and how you know which one to use is they should relate to the end of your thread. And actually I'm going to take that sticker off because it gets very sticky. So this should be about the size of the end of that, and I'm going to take that sticker off as well because they're a bit of a nuisance and they gum up your thread holder. So I'm going to pop that on now, and I'm going to put this on. Now I don't want you to push it hard up so this can't move. Just have it nice and loose, and then your thread can spin around. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your foot is up. So you've got a little bar at the back, lift it up so your foot is up. Now that means your tensions are open, and when you thread your thread through here, it's going to go into your tension unit. So the first thing we're going to do is go behind here. There's little arrows to show you, and to thread your machine I'm going to show you first, then I'm going to show you how to wind a bobbin. So you come from here down to here, around, you come back up, you come down, you come to here, and you go behind the little lug there. Now I like to put my foot down, and you've got an automatic needle threader. So if you're right-handed, you hold this in your right hand, and with your left hand you gently bring your needle threader down. It hooks under that little plastic bar. You push this down as far as it can go, then you slide your thread straight across in front of your needle, and you can feel it catch. You can then let your right hand go and gently let your left hand go, and you end up with this beautiful big loop. Now, so that's how you thread, and I'll show you again. I'm just going to cut my thread. So if I want to change thread color, I lift my foot up, I cut my thread, and I pull it down through the needle. All right? I am not pulling it back through the machine at all. Now I'm going to show you how to wind a bobbin. So the bobbins have a shiny side here, and this is what reads the bobbin, and a flat side here. So you put shiny side down on your bobbin winder and you push it down. Okay? I'm just going to let you hear the noise of the bobbin winder first. If you ever hear that noise, you've knocked it on. We get a lot of phone calls about people worried they've done something to the machine and they've accidentally knocked that on. So here's how you wind a bobbin. You come behind here, and you go here, you follow the arrow around in a circle, and then you can thread it up through the hole. But on these bobbins I like to just wind it around a couple of times and then cut my thread here because there's a thread cutter. Now I push this across and it will wind nice and evenly, and you can wind a full bobbin and it will stop automatically, or you can just stop it at any stage. Okay? And you can cut the thread, and that's how I like to wind my bobbin. Now, so I'm going to show you the threading again. So behind here, it's very hard when you're on an angle, but it just clicks under there. Then you go down, you go around, you go up and down, and it automatically will click up and down. You go into here, you go behind here, and then with your right hand on your thread, you bring your left hand down, you hook it under the little bar, you push it down till it can't go any further, you push it in, and you can let your right hand go and your left hand go, and you've got a beautiful big loop. You can then put that under here. Now, I've got another bobbin here to show you how to put it in your bobbin case. So your bobbin case goes into your machine like this. So it must be horizontal when it goes into your machine. Oh, I'll take the sew table off to show you. So when you take the sew table off, you need to put your thumb on the machine and push it with your fingers, like that. Do not yank it like this because you might break this bar. So thumb and fingers, and that's how you take your sew table off. So, to put our bobbin in, we do shiny side down, just like we did when we were winding a bobbin. So shiny side down, and we bring the thread down through this little slot. We bring it around underneath those two wires, and we click it up into the wires. I'll just show you that again. So we put it into our bobbin holder, we go into here, we go around, and we click it up into here, all right? And so when we put it in, when we push this side, it will lock it into our machine. When we push this side, it will pop it out. So I will just tilt this so you can see in here. So I'm going to put it in, and it can only go one way, and it clips in like that. And to take it out, we push the button and it pops out. Okay? So we're clicking it in like that, and then we cut the thread. So you don't need to bring your thread up anymore. It will automatically bring our thread up. Oops, I touched my question mark. Okay, so I'm going to close the door. Now, what if I want to wind a bobbin now that I have already got everything threaded? What you can do, I'll just steal a thread from next door. And this. So if I wanted to wind a bobbin, but I already had this threaded, I would get my second felt that's in my tools. I would put my other thread onto here, and this time I would go in this little wire here, and then I would do exactly the same thing. So I'd put my bobbin down and I would wind it exactly the same. So it's very, very good because it's got a separate bobbin winder motor, and that's on both models. So it's very handy. All right, I'll just pop that back on there. Right, so now let's show you how the machine works. So first of all, the feet are just clip-on feet like this. Okay, now these feet are called V version, and they're the new version of feet, and they have a little cutout at the center back of the foot. So when you're buying your feet, you always buy the ones that have got a flat bar across the top. All right, but your dealer will know which ones they are, and we're your dealer, so we'll be able to help you. So the feet just go up underneath, and there's a little bar that we push down, and we can put our thread into here, and we can cut our thread, and that length will never let our needle unthread. Now in with your tools, you get this wonderful little stylus, and it actually magnetizes on the side of your machine there. Can you see that? So it magnetizes, it's very handy, so you always know where it is. So what we're going to do is we can touch the screen, and it will do all our different stitches. Okay? So let's start just showing you the basics. So up here we have got our tension. So this is the tension of our machine, and every single stitch has got an automatic tension. But if you find that your bottom thread is coming up, you can wind this, and you can see it's turning yellow, and my tension is pulling my bobbin thread down to below whatever tightness you want. If I need my bobbin thread coming up higher, I can wind it the opposite way. Okay, and then I can clear it back to my machine setting. So I'll just show you. If I pick another stitch, you can see that's on 4. If I pick another stitch, it is changed to 5. So it automatically sets the tension for the stitch I've chosen. Okay, right. The next one down is the feet. So these are the feet that are on the machine. So the main foot, the correct foot for this straight sewing is number 1 foot, and it shows a star. But it shows you all the feet you can use for straight sewing, okay? If I choose this stitch here, it has changed my foot number to 2. And if I touch on there, it's showing 2 is my favourite stitch because that is the overlock stitch foot, and I had chosen the overlock stitch. So it's a very, very intelligent machine. I'm just going to put it back to straight sewing and it will automatically go back. Now, so that's how the feet change, and it does it automatically for you. If I touch this button, this is the foot pressure of how firm it is on your machine. And on the side of the machine, this is your foot pressure. So you can make it lighter or firmer depending on the fabric. So you'd only make it firmer if you were using a slipperier fabric, and you'd make it lighter if you were using a heavier fabric and it wasn't feeding properly. So that's your foot pressure. The next one is if you wanted to change to twin needles, you can tell the machine. That's a whole nother lesson we'll cover another day. And you can also get a single hole straight stitch foot if you're doing a lot of straight stitch work. The next one down are your feed dogs. Now the feed dogs are these things here that feed your fabric forwards and backwards. So if I move this, the feed dogs move. If I push the feed dogs down, they go down underneath the machine and don't work. We use that when we're doing freehand quilting or darning. Now on these new machines, when you push it back up, oh, by the way, that goes yellow when I've changed something on the machine. When I push it back up, they have come back up, but they will not come back up till you do one rotation. Okay, so you need to do one stitch rotation for the feed dogs to come back up. It'll come back automatically, you don't need to manually do it, but I'm just showing you what it does do. The next one is for your bobbin, so you know what was happening with your bobbin. Now along here, you have got straight sew zigzag. Now this is the basic menu, and if I touch the screen, it will extend all my basic stitches out, and I can scroll up and down and choose the stitch I want. Okay? Next folder down, these are folders of all the fancy stitches. Oh, sorry, menu down. So this one is all fancy stitches from 101 all the way to 152. Your book will show you every stitch that you have on your machine, and if you know the number, rather than looking that way, oops, I've touched something. Rather than looking that way, you can go here and you can go stitch number 15 tick, and it will go straight to the stitch. It will set the tension, and it will tell you what foot to use and set the machine's width and length. Okay, so in there's lots of beautiful stitches for you to play with. The next one is your alphabet, and I will show you how to write a name and add numbers to your alphabet. The next one are all your buttonholes, and on this machine you can actually sew a button on by machine. It's brilliant. The next folder down are all your quilting stitches, so all of these are quilting stitches that you might like to use for quilting. And the next one down, that will be a whole nother class teaching you how to save stitches into your favorite functions. Okay, so that's your basic things on your machine. Now what you've got also is on externally, you have got your zigzag knob. I'm just going to go back to stitch number 1. So here I've got my zigzag knob and my stitch length. So the stitch length is 2.5. When I change it, it will go yellow, and I can extend it out. But on these new machines, it shows you what it's going to look like. If I want to make it smaller, it will go smaller. Okay? If I do zigzag, so I go to stitch number 2 and I do zigzag, it will do the same thing, go yellow, and I can change the width and I can change the length. Now this clever machine will remember what you've previously done until you turn the machine off. Okay? Very clever. So I can clear it by pushing clear, and I can clear that by pushing clear. So if I'm going to sew along, I have got a knee control in this machine which lifts the foot up and down. Okay? So I can lift the foot up and down. So on this machine, I can use a foot control to sew. I can use the reverse button here to reverse. And I can stop with my needle stop down. So every time I stop sewing, can you see the needle's going to stop down because I've asked it to. So this button here is a needle down. If I push that, it's going to stop with the needle up every time. So needle down permanently, needle up. Now the beauty of the needle down is you can sew The needle's down, lift your knee across, turn, sew. Needle down, lift across, turn, sew. Okay. Now this one will lift the needle up manually just for that step. So down and up. So you've got choices. The next thing you've got is on here is scissors, so I can cut my thread. Okay? And my thread is cut underneath. If I want to sew and I want to lock off, I can push the knot and it will lock off in one place. Then I can cut. Very clever. The next button down is the reverse button. So if I want to sew and reverse, I can sew and reverse. Okay? Now the next button that's shining green on your machine is your on-off button, and this can sew without the use of your foot control. But this is a speed dial you might like to use now. So if I push the button, it's going to sew, but I might like to slow that down. Okay? Or speed it up. And it's an on-off button, and I'll stop sewing there. Isn't that clever? Now, Bernina have put this wonderful new stitch number 5 on for all you people that do amazing garment sewing. Now what stitch number 5 does, it automatically sews down 5 stitches and reverses 5 stitches. So if I push this, it's going to go forward and reverse. When I get to the bottom of my garment, I can just touch the reverse button and it finishes off and stops. Isn't that brilliant? Such a good stitch. Okay? And that's how it does it. So it does a perfect stitch. It actually does 6 stitches in the beginning and 6 stitches at the end. It's very, very good. Now, on your screen, if you forget something, you've got a question mark. So the question mark, and you say, what is that? And it will tell you all about how your upper tension works. Okay, so the question mark is your best friend. The clear button is your next best friend if you've pushed something and you didn't mean to. So you've got your width, your length, and this one is your needle position. So if you watch the screen, my needle position will move when I push it. And now, if you have a look at the needle, I'm sewing all the way to the left. Can you see that? All the way to the left. I'll put the needle up. And if I move the needle position all the way to the right, or I'll put onto ordinary sewing, all the way to the right, now it's going to sew all the way to the right. Very, very clever. And if I clear it, it's cleared. Okay? Now if you accidentally push this button, you're going to go on to what's called Combi mode. Don't use that just yet till I show you. That's how we combine stitches and combine letters. So you need to push it till you get one single stitch on the screen again, or you'll get very confused. Now this button here is your home button. When you touch your home button, you get all these things here, okay? So this one is Eco. It turns your machine off by 50%. So it saves your power. If somebody comes to the door, you can touch it. Then it starts up again. This button here, what this does is you can tell the machine the fabric you're using, and if you don't know what they mean, you can ask the question mark, but this looks like leather. So I'm going to say to the machine, I'd like to do some leather sewing. I would like to sew a zip, and it tells me the size needle, the thread, and the foot, and the stitch. Now watch what happens. When I go tick, this clever machine changes my tension, changes my foot, tells me the stitch length, and moves my needle position. Absolutely brilliant. So that's a wonderful feature, and that was from home, and that was into here. And when you've finished with that one, you can go back up, and I'm going to choose a woven fabric. I'm going to say I want to do a buttonhole. It's going to tell me I need a 70 needle, very fine cotton thread, my foot, my stitch, and I need stabilizer. I tick it, and it does everything for me. Absolutely brilliant. So you want to use that. I'm going back to home. Now this one is your book. This is your Bible inside your sewing machine. You want to know how to do some techniques. What would I like to know? I'd like to know how to blind hem. It shows you how to blind hem. You use your stitch length dial and you can wind it up to read the page. So you've got a book inside your machine. You're not having to read your book that you've been given. Absolutely brilliant. The next one is your cogs. So if you get these up onto the screen, you know that you have done something wrong, but also it can tell you things. So this one here is your sewing machine, and this shows you everything. So if you want to turn your light off because it's too bright, that's where you turn it off. Or you can make it not so bright. So if it annoys you, you can make it not so bright. I like it bright. Okay? This one here is information, and this is where we put your information when you buy a machine, so we know we can count the stitches you've done on your machine. And it's important for the service because the machine will tell you when it needs a service. Also on here, it does the version of your machine. Now that is so that we can keep it updated if there's new things to go onto your machine. Now if you don't like the sounds on your machine, you can change the sounds or you can make them louder. I can show you how to do all of this, but it is all set for one sound at the moment. You can change the colour of your background. If you want to have pink, you can ask it to be pink. So you can have whatever, you can have whatever you like. Buttonholes. Everything you need to know about buttonholes is on your screen. So it's all in this button here. So we can teach you that later on as well. But first of all, let's get your sewing. Look, I've got a pink screen now. I'm going to go back to straight sewing. I'm going to clear it so everything's back to normal. So I just want to touch base with your real basics. Your power is on and off at the back. Your foot control plugs into the side, turns on. It takes a little minute. There's a lot of information on your machine. And you'll hear a little noise. That's quite normal. And there's the noise. That is quite normal. The other thing that people don't realize is normal, you can just cross that, is that when you start sewing, you'll hear this noise. And that's just the motor engaging, so don't panic about that, okay? And you can have your machine fast or you can have it slow with the foot control. Needle down, I love the needle down. Knee across, turn your work. All right, so you don't need to use your hand wheel anymore. Okay, those days are gone because you can do one stitch at a time. Okay, I'm just using the foot control and doing one stitch at a time. You'll notice you've got a beautiful white light around here now, so you have a lot of light onto your machine. And to get the needle up, if you want to put the sew table on, push the button, lift your foot up, take your work out, and get your sew table and slide your sew table on. And that is how you get your sew table on. All right, so I just wanted to get you going with the basics of your machine. It's really, really, really important to learn your machine. One thing that you might like to play with, if I pick a fancy stitch, like this stitch here, and I go into what's this here, this is I for information, I can ask it to do one fancy stitch. So I can say I'd like one stitch done, I can start sewing, and my machine will now sew that once. I can slow it down, and I can cut it. Oh, this is not a bad thing. If this happens, this is a good thing. Don't know why it happened, but this is great. If this happens, what do you do? Couldn't have done it better if I tried. You cut the thread here, okay? You take out your bobbin case. Thank you, machine. I don't know why you did it, but I'm pleased you did. You cut the thread, okay? You lift that up. You take that out. You take this off. Now, this is great because I want to show you how to take this hook out. So I'm going to bring this across and I'm going to take this whole shuttle area out. There's nothing in there, there's nothing jammed. I'm going to take the foot off and I'm going to take this off, and how you do that is you push that button and you lift this up, because I then can make sure there's no thread stuck. I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to turn my balance wheel one rotation. There is nothing stuck in there. So now I'm going to show you how to put this back in. So inside your machine, I'm going to lean it back. You have got two little lugs. Can you see that nice and clearly? And you've got a dot. You have two little openings here and you have a center circle. By the way, before I forget, these two yellow pieces of felt here are for your oiling marks. Please do not pull out the felt or you'll have to buy a whole new shuttle. So leave those felts in there. They are to soak up the oil to oil your machine. To put this back in, you simply lean your machine, hang on, I'll get the needle up. Lean your machine back and you put the bottom in first and you just slide this until it clicks into the lugs. And it is, whoop, there we go. Is that in? Yes, and it magnetizes. And, oh no, I didn't think it was. It magnetizes in. I'll just turn it back around. So go to there, and this magnetizes in. So pop it in, and you'll hear it. There we are, it's in. Now once it's in, you push this, and you push it behind this little bar until it clicks. And you can feel it, and you can make sure that's in really tight. Now your bobbin, don't put it back in without taking it out and re-checking there's no little bits of thread in there, because it's stopped for a reason. So put it in, bring it here, come around and pull it up. Pop it in, and it's showing me on the screen how to do it. It's brilliant. Push that back in, and there. Can you see on the screen? It's showing me how to do it. Very, very clever. Okay, and you can put it down further so you can watch it. So good. Step by step, you can't go wrong. Under the two wires and pull it up. There we are, so it's very good. So now I'm going to re-thread the top because I've cut the thread. So I'm going to go behind here, down, around, up and down. Behind there, and there, and there. That was perfect timing. And now I'm going to put this back on. Now it's got two little bars here and one here, so it goes in this side first. So you put those two bars so it's sitting flat and you push it down. Okay, to take it off I just pushed two fingers in that corner. All right, put your foot back on, pull your thread, cut your thread, put your sew table back on, and just make sure that's in there, and shut the door. Right, so we'll try that again. So if you were halfway through, it would come up with a little bar on here, so I know it's at pattern begin, and so we'll start that again. So it's doing the little, it shows you what part it's doing, and then it comes along, does the center of the flower, and it's going to stop because I've asked it to do one pattern, and I can cut. If I'd like to do more patterns, I just push this button here, and it will now do two patterns and stop. So I can use my start stop button. It's on the second one. Oh, look, it's still on. It's showing one on there, but it's showing two now, and cut. Now a lot of people get stuck because I don't know how to get out of the screen. You just push the little cross. Now you're back with your patterns. If you want to choose another pattern, you can extend this out. you can choose another pretty pattern, and you can then go to I, and you can ask it how many you'd like to do. Or you can just do a row of them. I could turn that down and just do a whole row of that stitch. And I can make it go faster. The machine feeds the fabric by itself. You do not need to do it. You are only guiding it. When I've finished, I can actually push pattern end, keep sewing it will stop at the end of the pattern. And then I can push the scissor and cut. And there you've got a lovely row of beautiful fancy stitches. Okay, so now I've finished for the day. I'm going to put my little stylus on the side of my machine and turn my machine off at the side, and your machine turns off and has a sleep. So there you go, that will get you started on your machine. I'll do another video on how you do your combination stitches, and I will do another video, well, a lot of videos, another one on buttonholes, so that you can learn at home, but you're more than welcome to come in for lessons. You will be getting sent very shortly. We've just booked a date for your basic lessons where you can come. Now, when you come to classes and it's on your machine, you do need to bring your machine and all your tools, and please bring your power lead and your foot control and your glasses if you're my age. So I hope to see you all soon, and happy sewing.